plug the what's it in the thing. Thank you. I'm glad you know what I was talking about. So I get it didn't.
Someone's got to.
Oh my gosh. Whatever.
I can still abuse you on live YouTube.
Hey everybody, how are we doing today? Thanks for holding on. Sorry we're a bit late. That's what we do though. Here to talk Good Omens, episode number 4, which I'm so stoked about. And we're gonna have a bit of a discussion today, from what I understand. Djinn St Baptiste here with Amy Truer Than Tru and BaelzeBen. And yeah, say hi to everybody out there right now. We've got Enemy Lover Nicole. Of course, we have Brown Holler, the one spanner that rules them all. Some girl named Amy True. And of course, Julianne89, who has done a new thumbnail for me that's going to be on my video that will be coming up Sunday, because starting Sunday, I will be putting music up on my channel again, which I'm pretty stoked about. So we start off the episode with Atlantis, which is kind of straight out of the books. I think the campiness is kind of funny. I mean, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the way a kid thinks, not the way an adult thinks. So it did like that. What were your thoughts?
It was it came across as sort of quite a British thing. That yes, it's Atlanteans and they've won the dacoits. It's sort of like it's something that sort of pops up quite frequently in British comedies, where it's sort of like superior beings, alien race, something like that. They've won dominoes, cards, darts, something menial. It's like a look at these amazing people, and it sort of suddenly brings them back down to our level.
Right, they're doing just like everyday.
Yes.
Like you said, playing darts or.
Sorry, I just got really distracted by Julianne's fucking hilarious dream about John Hamm. It was a dystopian end of the world thing. We were by the sea, which was all thick and icky. We were trying to save things, but he came up to me and said, "You didn't wear your bra again, did you?" Oh dear. Apocalypse level knockers. That's okay, they're dangerous things when they're unrestrained.
Is that like the new bra sizing, apocalypse grade?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse now.
Oh my gosh, Ben, you just put the like worst thoughts in my head of all time. That would be like the worst spoof porn ever. It'd be so freaking disturbing.
Possibly a good use for elbow grease, though.
Oh my god, that was the worst cackle for me to. Oh dear. You've heard of ugly crying, me ugly laughing.
It's too damn funny for you, dear.
Please, nobody Google
Demolition
elbow grease. Yeah. Demolition D's. That's awesome.
But yeah, I felt like I was pretty true to the book. I thought it was funny. I every time something happens that in this episode that Adam conjures, for lack of a better term, I think is really true to how a kid would think of things.
Yeah,
I like
it is very childlike.
It's not adultified.
Yeah, it's sort of. It's almost the reason it's an instance where no logic works because it is childlike. Yeah,
right.
Sort of, the Atlanteans are in diving helmets, and that's the way it is. Because children don't take into account where they're getting all the air from, or how do they make the helmets underwater. It's just the way it is.
He makes quite a cute comment about it, doesn't it, as well? Because He says, when someone's saying it can't be true, he says, things on the internet can be made up, but this is magazines. Like, couldn't possibly be untrue if it was written in a magazine.
I liked that quite well. And I like all the scenes where they flash away to the telly quite well in this episode too.
Yeah, where they've got like the news
Yes.
things, and it's they're kind of talking about it as though it's something mundane and boring, when actually it's like
it's like the humorous feature at the end of, you've just been told, well, 70 children died on a school bus accident, but anyway, here's a man rolling cheese down a hill. It's that kind of whimsy at the end.
I don't know if your news is like that over there as it is over here, because they'll be talking about like a bombing, and then next in weather,
it varies a bit, I think.
More for local news, that.
Yeah, you get, like, for example, if we were watching BBC News, you'd have like the main news that's broadcast everywhere, and then
the regional news.
Then you get regional news that's obviously different in each area, and they're a little bit more light-hearted. Even if there's a serious story, obviously they'll start with the serious one, and there'll always be like a little light-hearted bit at the end.
Yes, they'll go from a local paedophile ring that's just been busted to yes, here's a kitten playing with string.
Yeah.
Just to round off the news.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, I'll tell you guys, I watch BBC News.
I don't.
Significantly more often than I watch any American national news, because it's so sensationalized.
Mm.
Whereas I think it's a little more news over there, as opposed to being like ridiculous to the left, ridiculous to the right with the slant and so forth, like it is over here. Which is actually funny, I guess. Oh, hi, Bear Island Josh. Good to see you, man. Yeah. I'm not going to go off on a political diatribe, though. We don't do that on this channel. On the other hand, BBC News. I just advertised for you. Send me money.
See, they don't do that, though. BBC. No adverts.
No adverts.
You don't
Send
get
me
any
money anyway.
That's why we'll have to pay TV licenses, you see, for BBC. Although it's nice to watch programmes without ad breaks in. I don't think ours aren't as intrusive as yours over there, because you get a lot more ad breaks than we do, I think.
No, it's all ad breaks. It's ridiculous.
But that also does boil down to whether there's anything worth watching on television.
That is a very good point.
Yeah. And the news is just always depressing. So moving to something that's not depressing, we're watching Adam's powers manifest. While he's asleep.
He hears them while he's awake this episode as well, though.
Yeah, it comes into that, but I'm talking like the very beginning and at the end of the last episode. Yes. I know, Ben, you're a big stickler with the book. How did you like how they handled it?
Well, yeah, the voices, I thought it was, I suppose you're limited on the way you can do it, because if they'd gone into sort of a long, I suppose, monologue about, almost instructing him, it would have been a bit, I suppose, difficult to follow. But like, yes, the sort of the do it. It's almost like a traditional voice in your head then.
Right.
And I thought that was, the sort of the coming into his powers, excuse me, I think that was quite nicely done.
Well, they're saying, make it happen, make it real.
Yes.
That's what they're saying, isn't it?
And he is. And it's almost like they're communicating to him on an 11-year-old's level, with like the make it real. Just do it, because you can imagine it, and it's as simple as that.
Right. Which always brings up the, at least for me, one of the things I've always taken from this book, and it might be that I was like taking a shit ton of philosophy classes when I first read it years ago, but just because you can do something, should you? I think, is one of the big questions that this book and to an extent the show asks. And we're talking about it from a child's mind, but on a macro level.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those sort of dilemma questions that always pops up with something like this, isn't it? Yeah. If you can do it, should you? But is it for what reasons? Is it for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons? Is it for the greater good? Is it for your own gain?
Mm. And there is a kind of innocence as well to Adam's thing. Like, he sees that Atlantis is real, so it becomes real. But then the things like with the whaling ships and, and when he's talking to his friends, like what he wants to do, he wants to make things better.
Mm.
Right.
But it's sort of the means are totally justifying the ends, though. In this case, it's like, oh no, you're gonna wipe out the people. That doesn't matter. I'll make more.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's a very simplistic view, isn't it? Again, it's very childlike. Like, well, that's fine because we can make more. It doesn't matter, and really, it does. But he's just kind of so. Obviously, it's childlike. It's very simple and coming up with.
I want to.
Yeah, not necessarily that. Just like, well, this would fix it. This is a simple solution. Why go through all this complicated shit when we can just do this and start again? It's fine, and it's all you kind of feel like he is a bit mean to his friends as such in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he's still not coming from a place of maliciousness with it.
No, but it does make him out to be an asshole, though.
Yeah, it's more because he actually kind of wants to protect his friends.
Yeah.
He's saying there's nowhere to go. I'll look after you, kind of thing. That's where he's coming from with it.
I suppose when we get to this point, though, when this is like at the end of the episode, isn't it? When he's all kicking off.
Yeah. We should probably hold that off for a bit. Just like the whale thing, you will get to hear my PSA then, because that's something that I get very upset about. So we move into Azerophile's conversation with Gabriel whilst jogging.
Yeah. That was funny. It's Gabriel had got like wings on his jumper. It was quite cute. It's kind of reiterating how unfit Azerophile is as well, and he's getting out of breath. And
although my question for that be, would an angel need to exercise? Because if they're a sort of supernatural entity, surely they can just decide what shape they're going to be. Because all of Azrael's other meetings with Azeraphile's meetings with Gabriel have either been in sort of like in the office or in his bookshop, and it just seems jogging just seems to be a bit of a random one.
I like that it almost shows like the psychology. Like one of the things that I really loved about this episode, it shows you how psychologically messed up the powers that be on both sides are. Like, they just don't get it. They get like certain little things, like Gabriel understands that, I'm supposed to, I think an angel could just, take and say, oh, hey, I'm in shape now.
I suppose I wonder if part of it's him trying to blend in, though.
But sort of Gabriel's the one who questioned Aziraphale in the first episode. Why do you do these human things when he's in the sushi restaurant? So it's kind of one that it sort of suggests that Gabriel doesn't get it and doesn't see the need.
But he sees the need for jogging.
Yeah, but he sees the need for jogging. Which is
perhaps they do exercise anyway in heaven. They train for the upcoming war. I don't know, because they're all expected to fight, aren't they?
Well, that's kind of what the book's all about. Is these people are training for this war that really doesn't need to happen. I like how that's kind of touched on, and I love how Bron Holler here says going for a jog is something that upper middle management would do.
That's true.
That's a very good point. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But I like how they have their conversation here. And I it's hitting that point where Aziraphale and Crawley are being told they need to pick sides, and we'll go into the whole Michael thing here in a minute. But I feel like there's a decent amount of character development there.
Yeah, this is when it sort of picks up with the stop messing around. The war's happening, like it or not.
And it's like, why do we need to have a war? Like,
that's
just prevent it.
That's one of the things I noticed, and no offense to any American folk out there, it seemed to be a very American view. It's like the whole point is to win it. And I don't know if that's just a British person's outlook on it.
It's the competitiveness.
Yeah.
I know that's the same person's outlook on it. I'm 1,000 points on your side in that view. Being an American, we're in it to win it.
Yeah.
Win what?
To win it. That's the whole point. We need to win it. That's why we have the war, so we can win.
Oh, and OTDA, by the way, agrees. Says it's 100% American. I'm American, and I can tell you, you're right.
Oh, I should say at this moment, thank you to Bron Haller for your nice comments about my criticism last week. And I shall be the voice of reasonable grumpiness tonight.
Yes. BaelzeBen is the voice of grumpy reasoning.
Voice of polite disagreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the voice of grumpy reason. I think I'd rather bestow that title on somebody, but I'm not married to him. Joke.
Yeah, I can call him whatever I want. So.
We definitely need the elbow grease.
Oh, God.
And I do like how the sword is brought up.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it every episode.
Yeah, but this whole scene is something that's not out of the book, but I think is done really well, despite the fact that it's added. I mean, if you're going to take a 300-page book and make it a 6-hour series, you're going to have to add in a few things. I think it's been done much better than certain films have done. Hobbit, but I liked this scene. I enjoyed this scene, and I love how Gabriel pops back up and saying, "Hey, it says that you were issued the sword." Once again, the total middle management thing,
Yeah, it is. It's like being dragged into the office for a quick word, and then it's all of a sudden, oh, remember that thing? To sort of bring it up very matter of factly, but it was perfectly planned all along.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was well done.
Yeah, and he's kind of like, oh, you need to be ready for this.
It's not like I gave it away.
Yeah, but he's kind of having a bit of a dig at him for being a little pudgy, a bit fluffy around the edges because he's such a foodie. And
there was a cameo. Shade cameo. Have to have a cameo every episode.
And he agrees, doesn't he? He says he's gone soft. And I'm guessing he kind of means that in a physical sense, in that he's kind of let himself go a little bit from all the cake and the crepes and everything else. But also, I think it's feeling wise soft as well. He's not on side with the rest of heaven. He's got a soft spot for humanity.
That's one of those things that sort of continued, especially if you look back at episode 3, when you've got Aziraphale and Crowley's history. Back in the Garden of Eden, it's all, it's an ineffable plan, and there'll be the war, and we'll win. And over each period in history, it's almost that belief has been chipped away a bit at Aziraphale, and he's sort of gradually gone, softened up to well, does there need to be? Does it really need to be? Does there?
Yeah.
We could do without this.
and his feelings towards humanity. He's got a lot of empathy with them now because he's essentially lived as a human. It's not like he's kept himself hidden away. He's he's interacted with humanity all the time.
Right. Far more agreeable and interesting, and it might just be because we're humans, but it makes him far more agreeable and interesting than any of the angels or demons.
Yes.
Yeah, and speaking of the angels, we've got Michael and the surveillance photos.
Yes. Yeah, I love how they portray this because it's so sketchy, and I thought that was really well done too.
In fact, she says looking into it through the back channels, and Gabriel's like, well, we don't have any back channels. She does.
No, I think that was done of that was almost it struck me as a bit of a Lord Veterinary thing for those Discworlders among us. It was like, I won't get cross as long as I don't find evidence, knowing full well that something will happen, but if he doesn't see it, he won't get upset. So Gabriel knows that there's back channels, but it's the what back channels, which is kind of the code for go ahead. But this is strictly off the record. I got that feeling from it.
I don't know. I got the feeling he didn't know. Which she would rank higher than him.
Yes.
So. Yes,
Michael is the Archangel of Heaven, commander of the armies of God. Now that Lucifer decided to bug out.
Yeah, so she's not answerable to him. But so when she says back channels, there might be God and maybe the Metatron might know about said back channels because they're that would be the only two entities that she would perhaps be answerable to, whereas he might genuinely not know that there are back channels. I mean, why would she hide? Because she's talking on her weird glass phone thing, and she's trying to make sure that other people that are going past don't know what she's doing.
But then the show gives the impression that she's answerable to Gabriel.
No, she's not.
No, it gives the impression though, because she's asking him, shall I use the back channels, trying to clear it, and surely he would, if he was unaware, he would have questioned about what she meant. But I got the impression that he's well aware of it, and he's answering by not answering, to keep it.
I agree. Culpable deniability.
Yes. Yeah, because it wouldn't reflect well on him if she was in the middle of Heaven's office on the phone to the underworld when they're supposed to be, oh no, they're bad, we're not going to talk to them because we'll be smiting them shortly.
I don't know, I still get the impression that he was not entirely clear what she was talking about, and I don't think she wasn't asking his permission, she was asking an opinion, as in like should we look into this more. Something brilliant that Bear and Josh has brought up in the chat as well, hilarious, they had photos from the Renaissance and before. Okay, random photos. I don't know, can angels time travel?
Well, there is evidence that Da Vinci came up with a basic, I forget the word for it, but kind of works like a camera, where you expose something to light in a small space for a long period of time. I watched a whole documentary about it, and I'll admit I was extremely drunk when I watched it, but
there's a very interesting way that
by the way, that's how I spend my time. My downtime when I get home from work, can't sleep, I just get blasted and watch documentaries.
I think there's a thing in the Discworld novels, Pratchett's weird kind of version of a camera. The
iconograph with the imp in it.
It has a little imp that lives inside it. Maybe they had something like that. Doesn't have to be an actual camera, or maybe Heaven's had cameras forever, and You
That's
know,
true.
eventually they just kind of leaked the technology to humanity.
And yes, you're right. It's a camera obscura, Juliana Winhara. It's yeah, that's what it's called. Camera obscura. Yeah, I like that it shows that like the angels, or at least some of them, aren't really that good.
No, they're not.
Yeah, well, it does make you wonder if they had all this sort of this dirt on Aziraphale, why they didn't put him up sooner.
They don't think he's important enough, I think, from as far as their sort of opinion of him comes across. He's just like this annoying thing, not very interesting. They think he's a bit daft, and a little bit annoying. And they do say, I think, they think he's spent too much time on Earth and spent too much time around humans, but they treat him like nothing more than a minor annoyance.
Yeah, unneeded.
They don't feel that he's kind of important enough to really actually do anything about it. You know, it's like, oh, well, you know, let's just let him carry on with his little investigation thing because it'll keep him out of the way while we do the important stuff. And
Yeah, I suppose so.
as long as he does what he's supposed to do, which is, you know, show up with his flaming sword, they don't really give a shit what he's doing, do they?
Right.
I think it's perhaps piqued their interest that he's got some sort of friendship with Aziraphale. Crowley, sorry. But yeah, I still don't think that it's not really like a serious concern for them. Just a bit of an annoyance.
Yeah, you know, it kind of reflects. I know one of Ben's big things that he has an issue with is that the show kind of sticks to some of the '80s mentalities, so to speak, and that's one of the things that I think is reflected here. It's because it's Cold War, you know, and yeah, a lot of ways this book was written to be reflected as the way of the Cold War. So, you know, the people who are in power don't really care what the people who aren't in power do, as long as they're doing something that's supposedly,
yeah, as long as they're towing the line,
affecting the other side.
It's interesting that she's sort of in touch though with the other side. She's already got a contact.
Yeah.
That she can speak to.
Particularly Liger.
Yeah, because
I think that contact's probably existed for about 6,000 years.
But he comes across as a bit of an idiot, really, doesn't he? A lot of the time. So.
Well, that was the thing. He seemed to be earlier on. He seemed to be episode 1. He was sort of prominent, and then he seemed to become just a bit of a henchman.
Yeah.
And now he's a bit prominent again.
Not for long.
Not for long. He almost seems a bit more, you know, in some occasions on this episode, he seemed more like the brains in the outfit than Hasta did. And it's one of the things in the book, Hasta seems to be sort of in charge out of the pair of them. And Liger is not so. Again, he's not so much a sidekick in the book, but he's presence, but maybe just a couple of steps down the food chain from Hasta.
Well, you can be a couple steps down the food chain and still be a lot smarter than your fucking boss.
Is he a Duke of Hell as well, though? Because Hasta's like official
Duke of Hell
title is as a Duke of Hell, and I can't remember if he is as well.
Well, Brown Holler has a company. Management from competing companies usually know each other.
Yeah, that's true. Well, political parties, Julian89 said, yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. I think the people one rung down, like, might be in communication, whereas the people at the top aren't allowed to be. They have to act. Complacent to what they allegedly are supposed to represent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of what I was just saying about Hasta and Liger from that scene where Michael speaks to Liger and he goes to find Hasta. And this is what sort of this is where Hasta is basically he's just whining. He's whinging about the fact he's waiting for a pipe, but he's supposed to be getting ready for the apocalypse and up in Megiddo shortly. And it's one of those things. It sort of almost downplays the character a bit. He's sort of gone from, sort of basically a bit of a bastard to being a bit of a whiner.
I do love that. We were all talking. I believe it was last week about how the representations of heaven and hell, and how hell's just like a sketchy nightclub.
Mm.
And there was a club that we used to play at back in the day that had this leaky pipe that always dripped down.
Yeah, I was just thinking like the nightclub we used to go to, the ceiling would drip. It wasn't necessarily like a leaky pipe. I think it was just the amount of condensed sweat on the ceiling. But you can guarantee there'd always be like a burst pipe in the loo, and you'd have to wade through 2 inches of water.
Good times.
Yeah, all the best grimy nightclubs and bars have a bit of a damp smell to them, don't they?
Yeah, but that's if you want to go to a Jonas Brothers show, you can go to a nice venue, but I'd much rather go see the Rolling Stones. I'd much rather go see the Rolling Stones when they were younger than me. And that would definitely be in a sketchy nightclub.
Yeah, not a good light unless his boots are stuck to the floor, really.
Yeah, you don't have the sticky floors. Proper old school, when the spag burns in the carpet. You couldn't smell the damp then, and you could still smoke indoors. So.
Okay, so this is total side note, but I have to tell this story because it just totally reminded me of it, and I have no idea when I could ever tell it again. So I went to this party. That's what we used to call them over here, a rave, whatever you want to call it. And it was like a warehouse party. And there were it was in like August here in Cincinnati, which, by the way, is like triple-digit temperatures, easily. And there was supposed to be a shipment of fans. The truck got into a wreck. So the fans didn't show up. And went to this warehouse party, like, it must have been at least 130 degrees in that place. And it was my friend's first party, and we couldn't find any stuff. So we picked up a bottle of Old Crow bourbon on the way. And we were standing together in a portaloo drinking warm whiskey before this party in like 130 degree weather.
Oh,
And the place is so hot. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Lovely smell of fermenting warm stale piss there.
Yeah, portaloos are like the most unpleasant.
While you're standing with another person, like in a portaloo,
yeah,
a bottle of whiskey back and forth,
practically pressed up against each other as well.
Good job, your friends, really, isn't it?
I recall when we went to Steelhouse Festival last year, taking one of the kids to a portaloo and like nearly braining them on the wall because just trying to sort of maneuver around each other. Just gross.
Never mind, eh?
Well, speaking of nasty places, that moves us right on to the next delivery that the
There's a scene in between that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When Crowley's looking for somewhere to go,
Yes.
and he's kind of talking to himself, kind of talking to God a little bit at the same time.
Yeah, with his globe and
Yeah.
All his pages everywhere.
And he mentions about God saying, you know, I know you want to test them, but you can't test them to destruction. And he has a very good point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's almost a little bit sad that he's just kind of like, he just wants to get away from it all. And
it's sort of Crowley returning as the voice of reason, you know, and in the irony of it's the demon who's going, well, this is a bit off, really.
yeah, and I liked that he was considering Alpha Centauri as a place. That's actually like a little bit of a Doctor Who Easter egg, because there's actually an alien called Alpha Centauri, and that's where it comes from. And there's a whole race of Alpha Centaurians, and this is like in the old original Doctor Who, not when David Tennant was in it. But
yeah, I've always been scared of watching Doctor Who because, like, I know because I'm so obsessive, I'd have to start at the beginning.
yeah,
And it's been on longer than I've been alive.
yeah.
So, like,
it's also a bit of a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Easter egg as well, because I think in the book, in that book, Alpha Centauri is the nearest hyperspace jump point as well.
Yeah,
and that's also where the everything's filed.
Yes, the local planning office for hyperspace bypasses.
oh yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I liked visually how they'd done it as well, sort of with the globe and the sort of the pages and stuff, everything up in the air. It was visually really, really good. I really enjoyed that. It was.
It's the kind of the wistfulness as well when he's going on about the nebulas. I helped build that.
Yes,
yeah,
I liked that, and I also, at least I caught there's actually a biblical Easter egg that's there when he says, you know, you have to test them, but not to the point of destruction. It actually goes back to something earlier in the show when, in the last episode, when Azeraphile is talking about once the flood happens, there's going to be a rainbow, and that's got compact that he's not going to flood the earth again, which kind of means he's not going to destroy the earth again. You know, I thought that was a really cool, like, little Bible Easter egg, which both the book and the show, I think, throw in pretty well. I mean, not to the point where it's heavy-handed, but
yeah.
little things you can pick up.
So many Easter eggs for stuff that you've got. Obviously the biblical stuff, and then the other kind of fandoms that would come into it, like because David Tennant's in it, obviously it's like Whovians would get excited over that, and then you've got people that are
Douglas Adams fans.
Yeah, or just the Terry Pratchett fans as well that would pick up on stuff from that. It's nice. It kind of adds an extra layer to the show, and some of them are kind of like blink and you'll miss it. I'm reliably informed that we may have missed a scene. The person that told me about this has watched the whole thing but thinks this was an earlier episode, that there's somebody in the background actually reading American Gods, which we totally missed. If we haven't missed it so far, like, keep an eye out for it in episode 5 and 6, but that was all they told me. Obviously, it's not to spoil the whole thing, but yeah, apparently we've missed that somewhere. I think realistically it's probably going to be in one of the bookshop scenes, so kind of just perfect excuse to go back and watch it all again, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely going to have to go back and look for that. But yeah, so then we get the summoning of Pestilence, or no, Pestilence quit. I do like that they almost to the word used the same exact dialogue.
Yeah,
that came from the book. And by the way, Ben, I know you're a huge fan. You can totally tell this is Douglas Adams. about pestilence retiring, and then the whole thing about memorable moments where he took Maud down to Spoon and on one memorable occasion Ford.
Yeah, it's definitely a Pratchettism, and it does make sense as well because you think.
I didn't say Douglas Adams. I'm sorry.
That's all right. In this sort of day and age, yes, pestilence would be pretty much redundant because of medical advances.
Yeah.
So really, he'd only have the odd little, sort of minor pandemic here and there, and and he would be relatively useless. So sort of to make him redundant does make quite a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does, because you think about, pestilence. Pestilence isn't like a first world issue, is it?
Whereas pollution it covers everything.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I can think of one big exception to that, but I'm not going to talk about that because this isn't a depressing channel.
But no, I liked it, and it was sort of the whole like the polluted river. Not that it was a good thing, but the way it was done was nice, and the delivery drivers, view of it, sort of just very matter of fact. Oh, I remember when it was all like this, and God saying there used to be an angler every sort of few yards or so.
Yeah, and I really liked how pollution, I felt, was portrayed almost exactly like the character was in the book.
Yes,
it's this very androgynous. We were talking about this a bit before the show, like almost like a Bowie-esque type of character, like early Bowie, like Ziggy Stardust era Bowie, and I don't mean that like super rock star, but like very an androgyny that's not robotic. And I do love that the minute pest or pollution takes the crown, it just rocks.
Yeah, turning black.
I thought that was pretty awesome.
The first gripe about this episode, I think this is one of the things that hasn't transferred well, is the delivery driver. I mean, his lines are all straight out of the book, which I don't have a problem with, but in the book he's supposed to be a little old man, and it's not been a problem up until this bit when he's sort of talking to Maud. I don't know
Maud and Leslie.
I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone, not even any of my grandparents' friends, who are called Maud. It's a name that really has sort of fallen out. And
very, very old-fashioned name.
Kind of doesn't make sense. I like the little bit with them with in the bedroom when they're just sort of chatting like as a married couple would, but it should be for an older couple almost.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from there.
I mean, it's sort of when they're talking about, it's nice that they said, we used to come down to the river to spoon, and you kind of think, well, if you're looking at it in sort of this era, no, you wouldn't go down to the river for spoon. You'd have a quick finger behind the bins in McDonald's when you're courting. Let's be honest.
I'm glad that's not how we met.
Well, Happy Meal and a few donuts around the car park in your modified hatchback, and
this is chav courting rituals here, nothing to do with us. But yeah.
But I did I sort of liked it mostly, apart from that one little bit. But no, it was a nice scene, and then we meet Death.
Yes. Before we meet Death, one thing I do want to point out that Beryl and Josh brings up, I love how, like, straight from the book, when pollution signs the paper, it's just like
a splat.
Like everything that
it's dirty. It almost looks like oil leaking
it's
onto
like,
the page.
It's the anti-Midas touch, isn't it? It's everything pollution touches, leaks, dribbles, goes nasty.
Right. And I do love God's monologue when she's talking about pollution. Yeah. Like, she'd come around in the past 200 years.
Killed more than war and famine.
With all sorts of things, like the internal combustion engine, which I almost think is a Tolkien reference, because Tolkien said that the most infernal creation of mankind ever was the internal combustion engine, and I almost think that's a Tolkien reference, but it might not be.
It could be. Also, the actress that plays Maud as well. She's she pops up in like really odd places. So she's in Interview with the Vampire and Fifth Element as well, with bit parts. Those are the two things I recognise her from. I think she's quite a prolific actress, but I think she does a lot of stage stuff as well. It was just one of those things when I thought she just kind of like, oh, I recognise her. So.
Yeah.
Well, and Braunhaller also brings up back to pollution. In the book, it starts with P, and then could be either estilence or elution because it was so smeared.
Ah, yeah.
Very good, very, very good catch there, because I actually forgot about that. And then we meet Death.
One thing that bothered me about this scene, I really, really wanted him to have the blue eyes.
Yes.
And I really thought he would, and I was quite surprised that he didn't, or that his voice wasn't a lot louder.
Yeah, I mean, we were both expecting this to be the full fracturized Discworld Death. And it was nice that they tried to get someone with a reasonable voice to do it. So Brian Cox, X-Men 2, if anyone ever saw that film, he was William Stryker, but he's actually English. And obviously, given the slight inconvenience of Christopher Lee being dead, there's probably not many other people who could provide a voice for Death.
Yeah, because
that would be in their
films, didn't they?
in the price range, shall we say?
Yeah, I would definitely picture, if they were still alive, either one of the two, either Christopher Lee or Vincent Price.
Christopher Lee's done it in, was it a TV adaptation?
He did it in a TV adaptation of Colour of Magic.
Yeah, and that was perfect.
It was there because they had a different.
You totally see Vincent Price doing Death too. I mean,
he's not.
But the thing is, though,
loudness.
in Discworld, as those readers will know, Death speaks like the tolling of great lead bells and the slamming of granite tombs, and it's
supposed in capital letters and you're reading it.
It's supposed to be that impression of a voice that's ageless and bottomless and other less words. You know, it's supposed to be sort of like the tolling of a funeral bell, almost like a dirge-like voice.
No, totally agree. I feel Vincent Price's voice, at least for me, as a horror fan, is kind of far on the same level.
Like that sort of creepiness. I just think he's not he's too softly spoken for that. I think he's it got with the whole the Discworld Death.
I can agree with you there.
I think because again we've read these stories aloud as well, because we've done them as bedtime stories with the children. Because it's in capital letters, you know, when we read this out loud to the kids, we both will put on like a big, deep, loud voice. Because where's the fun reading if you're not going to do that? Yeah, you do it better than I do, though.
I do.
Yeah, you kind of wanted a very sort of like a distinctive and
that resonant voice
makes you sit up and pay attention.
Yeah, okay, I can follow you there.
But also, if we notice, he wasn't holding a scythe either. In his first appearance, he's not holding his scythe.
And he should be, because he's
dead.
Yeah.
Is he in the book?
I don't think that's specifically mentioned. However, it's the thing you associate with Death.
Yeah, it's like an iconic
skeleton, black robe, scythe.
By the way, did you, if you guys saw it, did you like the piece of artwork that I found for this week's episode that I posted up?
Not sure if I saw
for Four Horsemen. It won't come up on the show until later. It's the one that I put up on Facebook and Twitter.
Sorry, I was just looking if it was the icon for the live thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome Four Horsemen picture.
No, I'm going to have to look for it.
But
And I mean, Sir Christopher Lee, he sings black metal about Charlemagne too.
it's direct. He was a direct descendant of Charlemagne, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah. I mean, quite a few generations, but yes, direct descendant of Charlemagne.
But yeah, I mean,
Fantasy or Sasuke's here. I'll
Sorry,
speak up now, which is a good thing. Do you have anything else about the death scene you'd like to discuss? Because I know you said this is the first fight you had a lot of issues.
sorry, we're just looking at your bit of artwork.
we're just looking at the picture.
Yes, that's very cool.
That is good.
I mean, as the voice of death, I think Brian Cox does a good job of it. Because
I have to Avatar for just a second, guys. I'm sorry. I'm still listening. I'm having some tech issues.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's the little details in that which didn't make it. Like Amy said, the blue eyes, and again, Discworld readers will know that Death's eyes are supposed to be like two tiny blue supernova pinpricks in the endless voids of his eye sockets. And we were sort of hoping for the traditional Death rather than sort of almost like a cloth cover over his face, for want of a better word.
In the book, I think he does have the blue eyes as well, doesn't he? It's mentioned that he's...
Yeah. Although they did give it to the delivery driver as his shade faded, if you've noticed in that one.
Okay, got it.
Yes, his eyes went a bit...
As the driver fades away, like his soul fades away, he gets the blue eyes and then just wafts off.
Yeah, it is mentioned in the book. I'm sure it's mentioned in the books at the point where he does actually lift up his visor because he's got a motorcycle helmet when we first kind of meet him in the books.
I don't think he does.
When they meet him in the bar?
That's not when we first meet him. That's later.
You're right. It's when all the horsemen. Yes. Yeah. There's a bit with him wearing a motorcycle helmet in the bar, and he lifts the visor, and I'm sure it mentions in the book there that he's got the blue lights.
Yeah. I suppose it might come. It might come. We'll just have to wait and see.
It could.
So
it's such an iconic kind of description, and you would expect it to. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like identical. It wouldn't necessarily have to be the Discworld Death, but
no, but it's one of those things. Terry Pratchett made Death his own character almost.
Yeah,
so
and it's something that I can imagine most Pratchett fans would expect.
Yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Maybe I'll have them later on. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode. So my big pickup that I picked up the first time I read the book, and I like that they kept in here, is actually a biblical pickup. And he just has a note for Death.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "Come and see." Did either of you catch that, or?
Well,
I think I did try and read tonight because it looked a little bit longer.
So I remember it from the book, but any biblical reference would be lost on me, I'm afraid.
Revelation 5, when the four horsemen are released, a lamb opens the 7 seals to start the end of the world. And when the lamb opens the first seal, which releases the 4 horsemen, the lamb says, "Come and see." Now it's like straight out of the Bible, which I thought I think it's really cool that these two authors had that kind of knowledge and did their research enough that they threw in little things like that.
Yeah, I think when you look at a lot of the other stuff that Neil Gaiman's written, though, particularly where he's included stuff about like Norse mythology, he really knows his stuff. It's very, very well researched, and he has a lot of knowledge on the subject. I've actually got his book about Norse mythology. I haven't started reading it yet, but
Brilliant.
yeah, he's very particular about kind of getting those fact things right as like the building blocks of the story, and it comes across really well in his writing and stuff. So I can totally get how he would definitely try and put proper references and stuff in there, and not necessarily obvious ones as well. Something like that you just said, that's not something I've ever heard of, and it's perhaps not one that's more like a general knowledge type thing that you would get with your kind of generic school education in religion,
right?
For example, so
like the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, it's a kind of a level deeper than that. It's something that only people that had more knowledge and understanding of the Bible would necessarily pick up on, especially as it is literally just a line. If you say to most people that probably that we would know is like come and see, it just makes me think of Game of Thrones and the Pink Letter, just because that's the kind of it's in the show of Game of Thrones. Obviously, it's from the book, the Pink Letter thing, really, but it's that come and see thing. That was the first thing that sprang into my head when he said it, not the where it actually comes from. It would have completely passed me by had you not mentioned that. So
yeah, I thought it was really cool that I mean, the first time I read the book, I thought it was really cool that they threw that in there, because that's literally what starts the apocalypse. Everything up till then, it's St. John of Patmos talking about all the things going on in the world and writing letters to all the different churches and so forth. And then this is when he starts having his revelation of the apocalypse. And the first seal is broken, and the lamb, which that's what I think is cool, because it wasn't just written on the letter, like he actually says it out loud.
Yeah.
Come and see, like a sacrificial lamb.
I was just about to say that exact thing. Yeah, so it's like the delivery man is the sacrificial lamb, because it's the only way you can deliver the message.
Yeah, I think really well.
When he first gets out of the car, actually his van, before he meets pollution, and that lorry came past, but it didn't hit him. It was just one of those where I thought, oh my God, hang on, they can't hit him with the lorry yet. So I was like, oh God, he survived it. And I was thinking, after that, I was thinking, well, maybe they're not going to actually do that then. Maybe they'll do something different for him to meet death. And that was just like a nod to it.
Teaser.
So yeah, it was pretty funny though that they then actually did it properly again. So
yeah, I like how they worked it out. By the way, for anyone in the States who isn't familiar with, they call lorries, we call semis.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right.
Or a big rig, I suppose.
Yeah. Would you even call anything a lorry, or is that just a completely?
No, I've never, even with all the Anglicisms that I was brought up with, I don't believe I've ever used that term outside of referring to the band Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry.
Or a truck. It would be called a truck here as well.
Yeah, we call it a truck.
Yeah. So after we've had all the stuff with death, we go to them visiting Anathema, and not wanting to take her chocolate.
Yeah.
What kind of weirdo has a bowl of chocolate though, just lying around? I was thinking it was supposed to be like Halloween or something. She's expecting.
Every scene with her, she offers anyone who comes to her house, she offers them something.
Yeah.
But is she offering them because that's her nature, or is it was prophesied?
Prophesized. No, I think it's probably just her. It's like a hospitality thing, I suppose, isn't it? It's
Or it might even be fairy gifts.
Well, it's the traditional thing, though, isn't it? Almost, the Wicked Witch is tempting children in with sweets, but then it's sort of it's not in this case.
But she's not wicked. She's just like this nice lady who happens to be like, oh hey, here you go.
Yeah, I like how they're all like, oh, we can't take sweets from witches, and then she's like, on the bar, and is like, yeah, actually, I can.
Wensleydale says, I will.
Yeah, the smart one.
Yeah,
says I will.
So that's the case. Is she knows that they're coming? Not the first time. It's not mentioned the first time that she was expecting them. It's the second time when they come and they bring Newton with them is when she knows that they're coming. But actually, I don't think she knows that the kids are coming.
She knows that Newt will be coming. Well, at least someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing the actual prophecy written down.
Well, no, this one was made up for the book of for the show, obviously, because in the book he's got this horrible little car called a wasabi, and you don't, and that's not mentioned. But I thought this was brilliantly done. Sort of putting it in the book of Robin's Blue Chariot, and that car for anyone who's not English is a Reliant Robin, which is the butt of almost every joke any self-respecting British comedian will use.
Yeah,
because they were terrible. Well, they weren't terrible cars, but they were renowned for falling over, and they were always a joke car.
Yeah, I had every awful American car in my youth that has ever been made. Like I had, you guys probably won't get any of these references, but for any Americans out there, I had a 76 Gremlin. I had a 75 Pinto. I had an 84 Mercury Marquis. I had an 82 Cutlass Sierra. I had a 90 Neon. Like every awful car that's ever been made, I had. It was like Newton Pulsifer.
I think the Reliant Robin's probably the equivalent of the AMC Gremlin.
Actually, if you've ever seen Wayne's World, you can see it. Imagine the Wayne's World car without the flames down the side. That was my Gremlin.
So I've got the prophecy thing. I actually caught it. It said, when Robin's blue chariot inverted be, 3 wheels in the sky, a man with bruises be upon your bed, aching his head for willow fine, a man who testeth with pine, yet his heart be clean, yet seed of mine, own undoing, take the means of flame from him, for to make right certain together ye shall be until the end that is to come. And then she's actually written her own notes around it, and she has written Japanese car in the question mark above it.
Which is quite a nice nod to the book, because in the book Newton's car was this horrible Japanese thing.
It is a Japanese car in the book. But yeah, that's not in this one. Where she mentions willow fine, anathema does mention later on that's aspirin. With my ex-pharmacy technician head on, that's because aspirin is made from salicylic acid, which comes from willow bark. That's how it was kind of discovered, and probably back in Agnes Nutter's time, if people had any sort of aches and pains, one of the remedies that they would use would be willow bark, and they'd like boil it and make like a drink or various things out of it. And it was because it contains salicylic acid, which is an anti-inflammatory and painkiller.
Oh yeah, chew on it if you have a toothache.
Yeah.
For everything else, there was leeches.
But yeah, that's what aspirin actually comes from. Hence the willow thing. It's just a little bit of my random knowledge about drugs, legal ones. My pharmaceutical knowledge doesn't extend any further than what you actually get in a pharmacy.
I do love the scene right before this where Newton is being, or no, the scene right after the little kids come by. We're kind of running all this together, but that's fun. But with the Newton being assigned his
his Witchfinder gear.
His Witchfinder gear.
His little birthday cake. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And it's sort of almost the worst part of that is his armour of righteousness, which is Shadwell's grotty old coat.
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot more made out of the pin in the book, isn't
I think
there?
in the book, Newton turns up with his own stuff. He turns up with his own bell, book, and candle, and then Shadwell gives him the Witchfinder army pin.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot more sort of it kind of explains what it's used for.
Yeah.
And
then it's sort of Shadwell's, I'm a bit old for this now, and off you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shadwell's so sketchy.
Yeah.
He really is. Like I think this is one of the things that honestly the show might do a bit better than the book, is pointing out exactly how sketchy Shadwell is.
They have sort of cut aspects of his character though as well. They've sort of dropped the casual racism out of him as well. But that's more of a narrative thing than what he actually says.
Right.
Because in the books it quite frequently references his landlord, who's of Asian persuasion, and the fact that his landlord finds the casual racism so funny because it's so blatant. Which I suppose you've got to be careful putting stuff like that in a TV show because someone undoubtedly will get offended.
I think that's it's more a result of our times.
Yeah.
Than anything is cutting that out, because I don't think it would. I think it would take away from any likability that the character has in this day and age.
Yeah.
And B, I think it would offend a lot of people.
Yeah. Just like all those people who petitioned Netflix to cancel the series.
Absolutely hilarious that was.
Oh yeah, did you guys see my message there when Amy sent me a notification that about that about somebody calling, or the petition for Netflix to cancel the series, and I said, well, what we really should do is, cancel Djinn St. Baptiste's channel, because on Reddit, because he's such a heathen. And go ahead and close his Tinder account too.
I think the best thing about that was Neil Gaiman's response, which was just, "Shh, don't tell them." Or something along those lines.
Yeah, that was what he put on Twitter, or something. He thought it was hilarious, didn't he? And he sort of shared it as well. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So after that scene with Newton Shadwell, is that when we start seeing some of Adam's?
Yes, some more of Adam's.
The things that he's
realizations, almost.
Yes, his truths. So you've got the people from Tibet in underground tunnels listening to everything they say, which is pretty funny.
I thought that was really nicely done, and it's not just the fact it was two Tibetans that had just been manifested there. They had actually been doing their day jobs and then appeared in the tunnel, not knowing what on earth had happened.
But yeah, they'd actually been like pulled away. They weren't just.
I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah. And then tea breaks over and let's get back to work. It's like, who's watching them? There's no one else in the tunnel bar them two.
And the aliens stopping Newton in his car. It's brilliant. The whole delivery of that, it's just like makes you think of a police officer pulling over somebody for
a dodgy indicator.
Yeah, just like some really minor fault with the car, and oh well, did you know that this was wrong? It's like kind of very patronising the way they're talking about his.
I'll let you off with it this time.
Yeah, the way they're talking about your polarised caps. Also, the Space Police jumped into my head, which is really funny because it's an album by a band we like. But
Yeah, I loved the Tibetans and the aliens. I thought it, another thing that I thought was just like yanked straight out of the book and done really well.
Yeah. Not entirely sure what was going on with the alien face, though. That was a bit of a weird thing.
why did it not look weird? Didn't you say it's more duck-like, though?
In the book, it's basically a toad in a spacesuit, is the way it's described. And I kind of thinking this sort of looks some sort of more like a leathery duck, but
I liked it. I think it worked.
It worked.
Like it was still like expressive enough.
Yeah.
Sort of the face was expressive. And they have mentioned ducks a few times as well. Do you remember they talk about they can't remember the phrase "water off a duck's back," and then I think they're talking about ducks having ears. Crowley kind of goes.
Crowley asks, "Do ducks have ears?" Yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of goes off on a little. Do they have ears? Well, yeah, they must do because that's how they hear each other. So I think it's like a funny tie-in with the random duck references that we've had.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think one of the best things about the show's writing is they just, for one thing, they bring out like little things from the books that like people like yourselves or I would pick up, but also like just little references, little Easter eggs that you could follow through the whole thing. And Julianne has a good point. Ducks in ponds taking bread from spies.
You just like the idea that there's like this sort of duck type alien race that are kind of policing the universe.
It's actually the Great Duck Conspiracy. Have you not read about this? I'm sure there's a website about it. And
not only that, it's environmental stuff still that they're talking about, which is kind of the Adam's thing, isn't it? That he cares about the environment. He doesn't quite understand. I think one of the things that he says later on, all this environment going on everywhere. But they're referring to things like the polar ice caps melting, and it's quite a sweet.
Yeah, he has all the emotion, but he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that's really well done too. I mean, he really comes across as a kid.
Yeah.
It's the whales.
The whales, yes.
Huge issue I have. There are still some countries, Japan happens to be one of them, that whale hunting is still like totally legal. And even though it's essentially agreed upon worldwide that you aren't supposed to do it, they still do. And I love how God says, this wasn't a whaling vessel, this was a scientific vessel. They wanted to test and see how many whales they could catch.
Catch in a day or something, yeah.
Yeah, I like the voice of God's sarcasm through this entire series.
Yeah. It is very good. I just go about Bear Island. Josh said better ducks than Vogons. Yeah, at least she wasn't reading him any poetry.
Yeah, I'll take ducks over Vogons any day.
Although, fun thing to do at work, send your manager's Vogon poetry through the work's email, because that really baffles them.
I'll bear that in mind for work tomorrow. Yeah, and the Kraken. You must have liked the Kraken at least.
Oh, of course I liked the Kraken.
There's Kraken emojis in the chat already.
It was an unusual take on the Kraken.
It was. It had a very funny looking face, didn't it?
Far cry from the giant squid we all know and love.
Yeah.
Well, you just saw the tentacles.
We saw its head, its whole head with the boat resting on top of it.
Yeah.
I do love that they referenced the God's voice actually literally quoted Tennyson's poem about the Kraken.
Yes.
That made me really happy. Because I don't even think that's in the book.
No, I don't think it is.
And so I really liked that because I was like, oh, one of those moments, that like Easter egg moments that you're like, oh, I see what they're doing there.
Yeah.
But yes, I love the Kraken. I don't remember seeing its head. I'm gonna have to watch it again.
But Ron Hollis says it came straight from the magazine cover.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's
So yeah, that's almost
that's where he's got the image from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that definitely makes sense. And I actually think it's, now that I think about it, it's shown in the credits, isn't it?
It might be.
Possibly.
I don't remember.
During the credits, like the entire time, you have the scroll of Azrael and Crowley walking, left to right, and they go under the ocean. Right after the scene where you have all the people hopping off cliff like lemmings, which I think is brilliant. But they're under the ocean, and you see the Kraken come out.
See, we skipped the intros this time.
Yeah, we've kind of just wanted to
get on with
watching it when we watched it. It was quite late in the day when we had it on. So after the Kraken, which they say on the newscaster says it's actually targeting whale ships. I love that, like the Krakens. Aziraphale mentions it a couple of times because it's actually supposed to be one of the things that happens when the end of the world is coming, is that the Kraken emerges. But it's just brilliant the way that Adam's using the Kraken as something to kind of save the whales.
It is not specifically mentioned in the Bible, but it's a lot of it's in a lot of apocrypha.
I think the bit that when Aziraphale mentions it earlier is the fact that it's the Kraken is great big bugger with a massive brain, and it all just gets boiled away when the seas boil. That's the reference he makes for it. Although I did like the little line straight from the book when a million sushi dinners cried out in vengeance.
Yes, I liked that quite well.
The next scene is the fields of Megiddo.
Yes.
And you've got this thing with Hasta and
the demon flunkies.
Yes. Triplet demons.
That's a great term. I love the demon flunkies.
Their hair was amazing though. The horns actually made out of the hair, and then the freaky eyelash things. I absolutely loved the costumes for this. The way they speak as well. They one of them calls him your disgrace.
Yes.
Your grace. It just that really tickled me.
And also one of the odd things here as well is when it only happens to Hasta but not Liger. When Hasta's on Earth, he's got hair, and when he's down below, he's got a toad on his head. But that doesn't happen to Liger. Wherever Liger is, he's got the chameleon on his head.
Yeah.
And they always have just crap all over their face.
Yeah.
Which is
general.
We'll get into in a second. Because, I thought this scene was brilliantly done. I loved how I love the demon flunkies, as Ben called them. I'm stealing that from you now.
That's fine.
Putting it in my pocket.
The one that mentions that he's trying to explain what a photo op is.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. And mentions that Crowley invented the selfie. You can totally see it there, can't you?
I thought that bit was great, the way it just pisses Hasta off so much. And that sort of becomes like almost Hasta as he should be, like just an absolute bastard. I
don't like jokes.
Yes, I don't do jokes. It's going on about it's usually him who's swallowing other people's tongues. It's like
delightful.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But then I didn't quite understand the bit where they got him sort of doing the almost like the forced put upon high pitched laughter. That was just a bit odd.
I think it's just showing how fucking batshit he is, to be honest. He's just like utterly bizarre creature.
It's funny you were saying about demon flunkies, the way the one starts off with this waffling explanation, and then the next one is trying to give a slightly more concise one, but he ends up getting toasted, and then the last one just gives the bare bones. Yep, they'll come here, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Try not to say anything that will get himself sort of immolated.
And there's this whole existential thing. They really don't have identities.
No.
Like outside of the Dukes of Hell, they really don't have identities. Just it makes you wonder. It reinforces, I think, how individual Azraphale and Crawley are.
Yeah.
Well, as human beings, because they've been around human beings,
And they've both got like a well-rounded personality. They're not like kind of. It's almost like one-dimensional, isn't it? It's like Hasta, right? Me, bad guy, and no sense of humour, blow shit up.
Gabriel and Michael and Uriel are all like, it's the war and we'll win. That's all it is. That's their sort of their operation.
And they've got I mean, they all have sticks up their asses so far.
They do. I was just reading something in the chat.
Yes, I do look at Crawley and Ben selfies, though. I love Crawley's way of doing evil.
So it wouldn't surprise me if Crowley had invented the selfie, but possibly the worst one is if he invented the selfie stick after that.
No, that would have been Humans.
Yeah, that totally would have been Humans, wouldn't it?
Because they take something bad and make it so much worse.
Yeah,
exactly. And then the meeting with Hasta and
yes,
Tad, isn't it? Thaddeus.
The
diplomat and his family, and God, Warlock's an unpleasant little kid, isn't he?
Yeah,
can't decide what accent he has.
Yeah, again, that was weird. It sounds weird.
I was actually hoping you guys could clear that up for me.
I suppose it's supposed to be a reflection of those American heritage of an English upbringing.
Right. His parents are American, but
it's difficult. The way the kid speaks, it either sounds like that the actor himself is American trying to put on a British accent and failing, or he's British and he's trying to put on an American accent and failing. It's like some really weird cross between the two, where some words are pronounced.
But I can honestly get because of my upbringing, because like I learned English from Irish people, but I grew up here, so there are words that come out that have a certain, and I pick up a lot of Naman cultures real easily.
Yeah.
My ex was from Perth, and once in a while you'll hear me say something that's very Australian sounding, and it's not trying to put something. I actually, if the child deliberately did that, the child who acted that part, I can totally get it, because you have all these different influences on how you're supposed to sound, and you're just like, well, this is the way I speak.
Yeah, it's like some words sound English and some sound American.
I've found that with the actor who plays Shadwell as well, with his fluctuating Scottish accent.
Yes, it's not. It goes more Scottish when he's actually using like Scottish slang when he's insulting Madam Tracy.
Yeah.
And then when he's kind of got longer dialogue, it's not quite as strong.
It sort of fades a bit. But it's sort of going back to the scene in question. It's quite sort of. I like the way they've done it with Hasta. Sort of like, yes, get the parents out of the way, and it's Warlock. Yeah, where's the boy? And then he sort of starts panicking with, "Where's the dog?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've missed the best bit of this, that he introduces himself as Hasta La Vista.
Yes.
Where has he even got that from, though? You kind of get the impression that they know fuck all about any sort of human things.
It kind of reflects the scene when Gabriel comes into the bookshop. Like, they just don't understand human things.
Yes.
You want this big mighty war, but you don't even get anything about the people who this war is supposed to be about.
Yeah. It's almost like human race is an ant farm on God's desk somewhere.
It's a bloody good way to put it.
But that's almost the way the rest of the angels and the other demons see it. It's sort of like we're like an ornament, you know, one of those things people look at for 5 minutes, go, that's cool, let's go and have a coffee. there's no interest beyond that, apart from Aziraphale and Crowley.
Right, because they're just so obsessed with what they do, which, once again, going back to like Gabriel's high middle management, he doesn't think of anything beyond his job. And I have to say, my acting chops for this episode are totally given to John Hamm, even though it is a very short part. Like, I thought it was brilliant the way he just did everything in the few scenes that he was in, especially the jogging scene. It's a war. We've got to win it.
I think he plays the part so well to make himself unlikable as a character.
Yeah.
It's sort of like almost like a smarmy condescendingness about it, because we've all had that sort of, direct supervisor manager somewhere in our careers that's like that.
Oh, I've got one right now.
He's trying to smooge the man above him while trampling on the guy below him.
Yeah, shitting on everyone underneath. And he's quite patronising and condescending, isn't he? And, yeah, like, you wouldn't want to really be around him.
No. But,
no, I wouldn't hang out with Gabriel.
No.
Oh, I'd hang out with Crowley, hands down.
I'd hang out with Crowley. I'd hang out with Aziraphale.
You go up for Aziraphale for the food beforehand, and then you go out to the party with Crowley.
Yeah. Yes, I like
I'd shove Uriel down a flight of stairs.
Actually, I don't want to hang out with Crowley if he'd got the Viking hair from the last episode.
Talking of Crowley, that brings us into the next scene, doesn't it? In the cinema.
Yeah.
Which, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, there was an Easter egg, or in fact 2 Easter eggs in this scene.
Go on.
Because although there was one other occupant of the cinema with Crowley, and that was Mr. Gaiman himself. Was the other cinema viewer.
I did not catch that. I'm going to have to watch that again.
Yeah, and the second one, Neil Gaiman also voiced the cartoon characters in the film that Crowley was watching, obviously apart from the one that becomes Hasta.
I loved that as well, the way they did it, and he got the little felt toad on his head, and it was fantastic. It reminded me of, you know exactly what I'm going to say, Ashes to Ashes.
Yes.
No, sorry, it's not Ashes to Ashes. It was Life on Mars. The little plastic.
No, it was
thing.
Ashes to Ashes. No, sorry.
No, it was.
It
was in the first one, wasn't it? Yeah. There's a very funny. There's a British drama series. The first bit was Life on Mars. The second one was Ashes to Ashes. And there's a bit where they kind of recreate a scene in like stop motion.
Yeah, well, the intro to each episode was done in a classic 70s TV programme style. And for those of you who may be aware of it, there was a series on British television for kids in the 70s called Camberwick Green, which was made animated with little puppets in the style.
Puppets, are they like plasticine?
I know, like figures.
Things, yeah.
But yes, that's what Amy's talking about, and it's very much like in that style.
Yeah.
I never got to see that. I do have to say, and I'm actually going to plug somebody else's channel here. If you go to, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Exclaimed. He actually has a video about how the Teletubbies are part of representative of the Cthulhu universe.
Oh God, you sent me a link to that once. Oh, it's bloody brilliant.
And yeah, if anybody has the opportunity to do that, please do so, because you'll laugh your ass off. I was pretty proud of my April Fool's joke this year. Like, I was pretty proud of that. But yeah, that was even 10 times better.
Oh,
By the way, if anybody wants to check out on my channel, you can check out my April Fool's video this year. It's called The Greatest Band of All Time, or something like that. And it's talking about Nickelback.
Sasuke and Juliana both mentioned watching Life on Mars, but saying like there was an American version of it. No, just watch the original and then watch Ashes to Ashes as well, because it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And there's only one Gene Hunt, so I may have a bit of a thing for Philip Glenister in that show. But
Oh, hey, Bobby. I didn't say hi to you before. I noticed you in the stream before, but I did not say hi. Hello, Bobby. It's always good to see you. Bobby can't buy her stuff.
Yes, buy Bobby stuff. Sasuke says that Jack Whitehall loves the Teletubbies. From what I can remember, there's definitely something I've seen him on where he's talking about the Teletubbies. Jack Whitehall's the guy that plays Newton Bolsifer. He, yeah, I think it might have been on the Big Fat Quiz of the Year or something.
I've got no idea.
When he's talking about the Teletubbies and he's Mr. Blobbyphobia.
Anyway.
Total.
Crowley in the cinema being addressed by the cartoon Haster in his bunny body. Throat punching the other one.
I love that he merges the other. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was so well done. I love the, like, taking a child's cartoon and just making it.
And it's quite funny because obviously being demons, they say, they don't say what the hell, it's what the heaven, and it just seems to lose all effect of the outrage, really.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And yeah, stay where you are, we're coming to get you. Like, he's really going to stay there. But yes, he's is it straight after that bit when he goes to
he finds a Aziraphale.
Yeah, goes to Aziraphale and he's saying, come on, right, we're gonna go.
Hey, let's bugger out of here. Let's come on. And I love this scene. I think it was honestly my favorite scene in the entire episode. Well, okay, it was one of my two favorite scenes because I really love what's coming up. But I loved this scene, because it's like a couple breakup.
It is, and because he calls him Angel
again.
Yeah.
People think that it's a term of endearment rather than well, he's stating his sort of species and such, isn't he?
And then you have the guy who's like, I think I even wrote it down.
I had that once.
You're better off without him.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. You're better off without him.
Mm.
Like I just thought that was beautifully done because, in a lot of ways, I mean, it's a romance, It
is, and I love this so much that they've done with it. I think you were saying it's kind of starting to grate on you a little bit, but I absolutely love it. I think it's so cute. It's fucking adorable.
The campiness is wearing thin on me, I think, with this whole thing. Sort of trying to play up the are they, aren't they-ness about it.
I don't think I think it's something we discussed previously, that there's no, yes, they love each other, but not in a romantic sense.
Well, no, but as we said once previously, Aziraphale loves Crowley in like the platonic sense, because angels love things. That's what they do. But I always get the feeling it's played up a bit now, almost, not hinting at a relationship, but it's kind of like almost teasing you a little slips here and there that make you think it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's just something that, again, it's just one of those little things that doesn't quite sit right. It just doesn't feel like natural in the show almost.
Well, for me, it feels like, there's no lust there.
It's like a platonic romance.
It's a dumb way to put it. Like at least for me, it feels like platonic romance. Like, I don't think Aziraphale and Crowley have ever shagged or want to.
I think we mentioned this before, though. It is from a kind of, especially how Neil Gaiman's written angels in the past. It's not something they'd be capable of anyway, because they're like Barbie dolls, aren't they? So
except for the Nephilim.
Yeah, but yeah, Aziraphale and Crowley would be like Barbie dolls, completely devoid of any sort of genitals in any sense. And the story that Neil Gaiman wrote, the murder mysteries one with the angels in, like that is like explicitly stated that they're like that, and it's a common thing in all sorts. It's like Dogma. There's a scene in Dogma with Alan Rickman as Metatron and drops his trousers.
Yeah. We'll have to do Dogma after this. It'll be jumping away from the Neil Gaiman theme, but we have to do Dogma.
I haven't watched that film in so long, and it's definitely a favourite.
Maybe even do a watch. Oh, that could be fun.
Yeah, Sasa says, I hate the term bromance, but it isn't quite that either. It's not, it's like, that's the thing, it's not like a friendship kind of thing either. Like I'd say that about my close friends. Of course I love them because they're my friends, but it's still not that kind of, that's not how they feel about each other either.
It's almost like a new halfway point between just mates and bromance. It's somewhere.
Not even bromance though. Like bromance is kind of a jokey thing. It's really hard to explain. Like platonic romance is the only thing I can think of that even goes part way to explaining it.
Yeah, it's the thing when earlier on when Crowley's got his globe and the pages out of his book trying to find where to go, that sort of comes across as he's only looking for somewhere to go to get out of Dodge and to not face the retribution from hell. But then when he meets Aziraphale, it does come across more like, come away with me and we'll be together.
It is. It's just so sweet and beautiful. It's just like, we're going to go together. We're going to go off to the stars. It's so sweet and romantic, but it's not.
I don't know. I kind of
romantically.
I always get the feeling it's the new. It's the new obligatory token thing almost, is to have some sort of gayness, want of a better term, in a TV series. That's now what you have, and I think sometimes it's placed in just because it has to be placed in. Not that I'm anti-gay. If anyone gets cross, you do what you want. It's fine by me.
No. I don't think it comes across as sexual at all.
I'm not suggesting it's sexual, but it doesn't have to be sexual for that, though.
Oh, yeah, Bear Island, Josh. 2 asexuals in romantic love. Pretty much, yeah, something like that.
And it always kind of struck me that way in the books, and I think it's shown and developed a bit better in the show.
Yeah,
I can understand because Ben, you're such a book person, and I totally get that. I'm that way with anything Tolkien. Like, that's why I'm so terrified about this $5 billion show that's supposed to be coming out, and you're like terrified, absolutely terrified. hopeful but terrified. But I think developing their relationship was a good idea that the show made. But I can see how you could find it almost campy. Yeah, I can definitely follow you there. I don't necessarily agree, but I can definitely follow your train of thought there.
I think the campiness kind of works for me as well, though, because the actors themselves do it brilliantly, and it suits the kind of the portrayal of the characters in it, and it's another thing of how different they are to the other angels and demons, that they have these kind of complex emotions. And it's not something that any of the others experience. It's just really,
it's just for them to.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just makes them stand out that bit more, and again humanizes them.
Yeah, and that's that I feel is kind of the point of the story is humanizing. It's like humans are more developed than angels and devils.
Yeah.
Oh, Brown Holler's got to hop off. Goodbye, Braun. Love you. The one spanner that rules them all. She's got to get her kitties to school. Because right now it's like in the future.
Yes, she's even more in the future than we are. So, so she's like, what, 9 hours ahead of us?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Have a wonderful day, Myth. So we go into. Now I know Ben does not care for the portrayal of this character, but we go into Anathema and Newton.
Yes. I didn't quite like how they hurried this bit. I like that they've kind of used a whole, like, giving him the prophecy card and stuff just to kind of fill him in quickly, and like explaining who she is and the thing with the descendant, that their ancestors, and actually, that it's good that they've done it that way for this bit. But then the romance between those two, it was very, very rushed.
Well, it sort of
was pretty rushed in the book too.
Yeah, I mean,
it is rushed in the book, but not quite as much as it was.
I mean, it was the way there's the bit with sort of Anathema's. I think it's, Newton asks, "So what do we do next?" And she was like, "Oh well, nothing. You wouldn't like it." And that's lifted quite well out of the books. She tries to almost downplay it, but I think then there's a line in the book about sort of dating by prophecy or something like that. I have to look back at that one because I can't remember it exactly. But I did like the way when Newton's reading the card and it says hearts reach out, and he starts spinning his guts. I've never had a parking ticket.
Yeah, it's quite.
It doesn't quite get the idea of it to start with.
I did like that. I've never had. What does he say? I've never had a parking ticket. I've
never eaten Thai food.
Never eaten Thai food. I've never kissed a girl. Like, or no, he doesn't say that. He's like, I've never, and she's like, you've never kissed a girl. And then they shag on the bed.
Which, under the bed though, you'd bang your head so badly. Like the lack of space. At least in the book they went under the bed in the middle of crazy weather.
They're on the floor though, because they're in the book. The tornado has blown the windows in.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, so the house is all sort of getting wrecked. And I think they shelter under a table or behind a counter or something.
It was kind of comical the way they did it though. It was very, it was a bit silly with the whole, like the heads popping out from under the bed and then back in again. It was just like quite cheesy.
But I thought that was funny. That was, I don't know, it wouldn't have worked if you'd gone into. I mean, you weren't. Let's face it, you weren't going to get a Game of Thrones grade sex scene.
Well, no.
But at the same time, you couldn't really do anything else apart from make it into a light-hearted one.
Yeah, it was just like overly comical, I think.
Yeah, I liked it though. I personally, I thought the scene was well done. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty true to the book, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, you couldn't show boobs or anything like that because it would have. I think it would have detracted from the humour. Really.
Yeah, they've kind of made it more comical than it is in the book.
Well, it's not really gone into detail in the book, though.
No,
it's kind of there's more in the aftermath, but we haven't seen that yet. So I suppose we'll have to wait for the next episode. And there is sort of more. There's more humour afterwards than there is during.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to ask anybody's personal stories, but the losing of one's virginity is, if you look back on it, or if somebody else witnessed it, it would probably be pretty comical.
Mine was boring.
I'm just sitting here thinking, God, fucking remember.
I mean, unless it was traumatic, which if
No.
In that type of situation, please, anybody in the chat, I did not mean that in any bad way. But for anybody who it wasn't a traumatic experience, like, yeah, if you look back on it, like if you were like an outside witness, you're like, oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it was boring.
Yeah. Nervous.
Yeah, Sass was saying about it's a bit weird, but it was cute, and can't believe how young and innocent they make him look, although he's at least 30. He's 30, exactly. He's
but it's supposed to be innocent in the book, I think, I suppose.
Yeah.
They're kind of like naive and a bit sheltered.
Well, live with his mom. That's what happens when you stay at home.
Yeah. Blowing up computers.
Yes.
Oh, Julian, especially if it was a clown like some people I know. Oh my gosh, okay.
What?
I got that reference. That was a Silent John's reference.
Oh, the clown porn. Yeah.
Clown porn. Okay. Yeah. We bring up clown porn every once in a while.
Yes, you do.
Win Heron, good night.
Bit of a conversation killer, clown porn, isn't it?
No. Oh, it's a running joke. I was just reading the chat again. Sasuke would give more details, but the internet is forever. Julianne says Newton couldn't even get online to watch porn. Just blowing up the computer every time.
He'd have to.
Poor thing.
He'd have to like rent it at the video store. Back when there were video stores. Top
shelf magazines.
Porn bush in the forest.
I thought it was quite funny that when they're in the tornado thing, like more than once he's going, "We don't get tornadoes in England." That's not true.
One slight blooper I noticed in that scene, actually, which was quite funny, is you've got Anathema and Newton being blown sideways. But Anathema's hair is all down, and it's just hanging down in the wind. It's a slight effect they've overlooked there.
Yeah.
Not windy enough.
I did catch that.
But yeah, he's saying we don't get tornadoes in Britain. That's not strictly speaking true. They do happen, but when they do, they're very, very tiny and very, very localized and don't cause a lot of.
They're very British tornadoes. They go away without making a fuss.
They are. So
yeah, not very British. Ours are very
No,
American. They're ostentatious and ridiculous and
and far more
can
exciting.
destroy entire families and
Mm.
their
We're going
home.
to do it so we can win.
Yeah, exactly. They're competitive. I think there was one year at Ozfest. Ozfest 2001, I want to say. Yeah, 2001, which was the last UK Ozfest that we had before it turned into Download. There was a mini tornado during Cradle of Filth set, and the hail was coming sideways. That was awesome.
That's so ridiculous.
And look, it was fantastic. I mean, it barely made contact with the ground. I'm not sure it even did. And then a couple of years ago, there was one in King's Heath, which is like an area of Birmingham, South Birmingham, that it smashed a window in a shop.
Yeah, the tornado took a little one look at its surroundings and cleared off in a bit of embarrassment.
Yeah, but no, it touched down on King's Heath High Street or something, I think, didn't it? And I think it blew a lot of rubbish about, and a shot of Greg's window got cracked, and that was it.
Anyone who knows the King's Heath area knows a tornado wasn't really needed to damage it.
That's probably true. There might have been a few roof tiles that got blown off, but
ours are a wee bit worse than that.
Yeah,
like just a wee bit. Where I live, they aren't too bad, but like one state over in Indianapolis or Indiana. I mean, you see some serious damage. And our good
there
friend,
was a pretty bad one near Johnny not that long ago as well, wasn't there? Yeah. Didn't he end up like in the bath? Hiding,
he had to hide in the tub.
What thing? Yeah, it's
like what's next in the book?
I gave up taking notes quite some time ago in the episode. Yeah, we enjoyed this episode because I got like that was it for my notes. Normally I've got pages and pages of them, but yeah, I was actually too engrossed watching to write stuff down.
So after the tornado scene, that's when we go back to Shadwell, don't we? And the pin.
Yeah,
popping out the map.
The pin is coming out of the wall. Another thing straight from the book that I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
They just the pin popping out of the wall. I thought was really awesome. It straight out of the book. And then we have my other favorite scene of this episode, which is literally straight out of the book. When Haster and Leaguer decide to come visit Private.
Yes. Oh, this was such a fantastic scene.
Always be careful of drawers that are ajar.
I'm sure the kids have mentioned seeing like that done as a prank before and said how fun it looks to recreate. So I think we'll probably have that to look forward to when they're tall enough to reach the tops of the doors.
Well, it's fun because it's something you see in like old cartoons and stuff like that. Like it's a trick that any person would get, but these two don't.
No.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's there, because they don't take any notice of the human goings on. Then they wouldn't think. But we did sort of this bit. I think it's quite a good. It's a good representation of Liger again because it makes him look quite sinister and nasty. So just calling him sort of Crowley, we want a word with you, and it's sort of like the preempting that it's going to go a lot worse from there on.
Right, and it's
creepy, isn't it? The way he's calling him.
Well, on top of that, I'm just the type of person, like, if we're going to come and do nefarious things to somebody, the last thing I would do is announce it.
True.
But then I suppose they're trying to put the fear into him, I suppose.
Yeah, they want to frighten him. But I really liked Haster's reaction as well. Like he's proper full on screaming, like, "Oh my god!" The way that, like, the fact that it's holy water is just like so horrendous to him, and then he didn't even do anything to you. He was about to.
I didn't like that bit particularly, the way they turned sort of Hasta into a screaming girl, because when I think in the book when Liger gets sort of watered down, he sort of becomes more. He sort of goes into a full sort of frothing vitriolic rage about it, and sort of like the complete disgust and disbelief that even Crowley would stoop that low to do something.
Right.
It's shock, I think, though, because when you look at how they did the whole thing with Crowley actually wanting the holy water, and how concerned Aziraphale was, and you know, like how it's not just the fact that it destroys them, like it just completely.
Yes.
There's no coming back from that at all. You know, that's it. They are.
I thought it was. I thought he wanted for a suicide pill.
Yeah, that's what he refers to it as, isn't it? Because they how do they refer to it as when they die? I can't think now.
Disincorporate.
Disincorporate. That's it. It's not being disincorporated. It's being destroyed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fairly. It's a shock reaction, and he is a bit loopy and stuff anyway. So
this sort of goes back to the point I made earlier, where it's sort of, again, it's a bit. I know it's my favourite saying here in the book. Hasta is an absolute bastard, and he's a nasty piece of work. And I think in the TV show, he seems to flip a bit from being from horrible to being almost not an idiot, but just a bit weird. And I say, like, he sort of going all girly, sort of the screaming.
I do like that something we didn't touch on earlier, that Warlock says he smells like poo.
yeah,
I thought that was just absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
Like, you smell like poo.
And then in the cinema, Crowley says, "Well, he's got a point."
Yeah, they probably do. And they always look dirty, don't they? You know, like unclean.
And yeah, so I mean, this is almost straight out of the book, except for like Ben said, maybe delivery of the lines. But you know, Liger gets himself his little bath, and then Haster gets stuck in an answering machine.
Yes.
I love that Crawley still has like an old school answering machine. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, that is sort of quite accurate from the books, because I think it's one of the things, like his Bentley, Crowley made his apartment and then has left it as it is because he likes it, and that's the way it is. So whatever technology you would have had at the time is still there now. And that is mentioned in the books. So I thought it was a nice touch.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have my things that I like, and they aren't necessarily up to date, but I'll take my shelves of books over having it all on a tablet any day.
Yeah. It's the whole thing with the plant mister as well. I thought was beautifully done. It was really funny. Sort of treating it like it's like a lethal weapon. But we as humans, we know it's a plant mister, but to a demon, it's all.
Yeah, but that little drip that lands on his finger
that gives the game away.
Oh, that's straight out of the book.
Yeah,
absolutely straight out, and I thought it was well done. Yeah, I think the acting in the show overall is pretty amazing. I mean, there are a few grunts and gripes that I might make, but overall, I think it's
I love that they did the jump into the phone lines as well. I did wonder if they were to do that and if they actually did, how they would do it. And it worked brilliantly, like what they actually did. Oh, excuse me. And how it's explained by God, sort of as the narrator. And then you've got that whole thing of angels dancing on the head of a pin.
Yes.
And the explanation about it is really
Angels
funny.
can't dance, apart from one.
Apart from one, there's one who does, you know.
If anyone's interested, a gavotte is a French folk dance.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Yes.
And let's be honest, Aziraphale did look very much in his element, dancing around with a group of smart young men, didn't he? He was certainly enjoying himself.
Thought of crepes for afterwards.
I love the subtle, not mentioned reference there, because at least for me, like Aziraphale dancing in that scene totally made me think of like someone who hops on stage with the village people and doesn't realize what's going on.
That's brilliant. And
like,
of course,
get that at all? Get that feeling at all?
Yeah, definitely. And I love that, of course, Crowley was, you know, it was disco.
And then Crowley at the disco, yes.
Yeah, it would be.
One might as well ask how many demons can dance on the head of a pin. They don't dance well, but at least demons dance.
They do dance in their grimy nightclub.
Yes.
So I wonder, because he's still in the phone line, if there's a thing in the book with the call centre.
Yes.
Spoilers.
They might do that.
Yeah, so
I can't go into it.
That would be great. I really want a telemarketer to
get his comeuppance.
Yes, it'd be very good, wouldn't it? And sort of the meantime of this happening is the encounter with Aziraphale and the other angels when they kind of come to confront him about what he's been up to.
Yeah.
Fraternising with the enemy, as it were. And he doesn't deny it, you know, he's kind of like, well, he's kind of telling them, I'm not happy about this, and there's kind of another way, and they're just not interested. They just don't want to hear it at all, and they decide that to just kind of leave him to it, really, because the trumpets start sounding in the sky, don't they? And so they're like, well, time to go, and off they pop. And he's kind of like, well, you know, I'm going to take this home. I do know that about the trumpets. That was
but yeah, the angels are just not very pleasant.
You bad angels. Yes. But they are, you know, you would think an angel should be all good and lovely and wonderful, and not like that.
They're for a kind of self-achieving asshole, really.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Uriel is like really nasty.
Yeah. Like, you think they're going to take your call?
Yeah.
Like, you're not important. No one wants to speak to you, and they're treating him as a minor inconvenience again.
Right.
You know, he's annoying them. It's not really that important, but they just want him to stop it and go away. And when he does actually make his call upstairs, I love that they've got Derek Jacobi as the Metatron. That's really good. And he was in Doctor Who as well.
Yes, I have to correct something I said last week. The Gabriel is not the voice of God. That would be the Metatron. The voice of God is the Metatron. Gabriel is the voice of announcements that God has to make. I rewatched last week's episode, and I had made that a mistake in description. Not sure that it mattered to anybody, but it mattered to me. So let's go into Adam. The very end scene, all the Adam stuff, because he's a work.
Yes. Oh, before that though, we've got Shadwell and Aziraphale.
Yes, the exorcism scene.
Yes.
Well, that's the very end, right?
Was it? Was that before Adam's thing or after? This is what happens when you stop taking notes.
No, it wasn't.
Very end, because the episode ends with two very particular words that an angel would never say.
Yes.
I'm sure it ended with.
I don't think it matters which order, really, does it? So, you've got the bit where they're still in Anathema's house, aren't they? And she's talking about making them sandwiches. And Adam, this is obviously before the tornado scene and everything you see.
Adam sees the picture of the devil, of the beast.
Yeah, he's kind of looking at that, and that's the first time we notice him hearing the voices while he's awake rather than asleep. We can like make it real, make it happen. Yeah. And that's the first time he appears to kind of flex his powers knowingly, like with his friends. Like, I didn't say you could leave.
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of potentially a bit difficult to portray that in the show, because I think in the books it's made out that it's the powers have almost overtaken him for a bit, and his physical demeanor changes a bit, and then he kind of reverts back to being Adam for a couple of bits, and he goes back again. As again, it's a bit difficult to portray that. Although I was slightly disappointed they didn't even put a bit of like a voice effect on him. Just like a spooky effect.
They might do.
Because
the young man who played Adam, I'm not sure of the actor's name, but I did think the young man who played Adam did a pretty good job.
I'm not a fan of the child actors in it, but yeah, I liked it, and he's it seems he's becoming aware now of what he can and can't do.
Yeah, but
I think it can't really, is there? It's like what he can do.
It wasn't really him though. I think it's one of the slightly confusing things. I think it depends how you interpret the book. But I know when I read it, it was like that the power had temporarily taken control of Adam, and that was doing the things, and it sort of backed off, and Adam came back through for a bit.
Yeah, kind of.
And that's the way I kind of read it in the books, and it almost comes across in the show. They've sort of done it. It's like he doesn't know that he's got the power, but he's got the knowledge that he can do it somehow.
It's kind of like subconsciously. Yeah. I think maybe he knows and he doesn't fully understand it.
Yeah, I think how it always came across to me is that it's like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even realize like what he's doing. I wouldn't say he's possessed.
No, it's when it gets to the point where they're back at their little den. He's taking away their free will.
Yeah.
At that point, he's making sure that they can't leave, and they keep protesting, and then eventually he tells them to stop talking, and their mouths disappear or get.
It was disturbing.
It was, but it worked very well.
It goes back to what we were saying at the start, doesn't it? So that they're all going, well, what about, there'll be no people, and they'll be, no, it'll be fine. I'll fix it. I'll make you new mums and dads. It'll be great. And sort of a point of, I think they made the emphasis on the fact he said it would be wicked.
Yes, that line was so deliberately chosen, wasn't it?
I
kind of say, he's the one that's wicked, and starts levitating in front of his friends, and you kind of feel a bit sorry for the kids then, because obviously they're scared, and so far they've, I think, not really kind of grasped what Adam's saying when he's talking about changing things. It's not a game.
From a literary perspective, it makes me think that most of the Adam scenes were probably written by Gaiman.
Yeah.
Because he very much, like a theme that he's always had in all his work, is the cost of having what you want is getting what you wanted.
Yes.
And it's like something that permeates throughout all the work that he's done since he started writing. And so you have those Pratchett scenes like we were talking about, but I think definitely, I think Adam was entirely written by Gaiman.
Yeah,
it does seem that way. Yeah, definitely. And he's to this point, he's kind of realised, this isn't a game. This isn't them kind of imagining what they would do in this situation. It really is happening, and I think he's kind of realised, but he's a little bit power mad, maybe. That's why he's saying, well, I'm going to do this, and it's fine, and no, this will work, and he won't listen to reason. Part of that is because he's suddenly got all this power. He's kind of he's getting carried away with it, whether that's the power kind of carrying him away with itself, or
he's sort of not under his control.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like he's not in full control of it. He doesn't really know how to like some of the things that have happened, he may not have actually wanted to unleash an actual kraken on the whaling ships. He just wanted the whaling ship stopped, and perhaps because he hadn't thought through how that would happen properly, it's kind of gone a little bit strange, and he's still coming at it from like this childlike, simplified way of thinking, and this is, well, this will work, so that's what we'll do.
No, it's like you both have small children. Like my child's an adult, ish. You guys have small children. Like, imagine if you gave them this like unbridled power.
No thanks.
Yeah, that is a terrifying thought. Maybe not so much with Layla, but Anya.
Be overrun with unicorns.
And chocolate. She'd turn everything into chocolate. I'm pretty sure she said that before, Anya. She's if she had superpowers, she would make everything into chocolate. Everything in the whole wide world would be made of chocolate. So you'd be fucked, wouldn't you?
I would be totally buggered. Yeah. If Anya were the Antichrist and had ultimate power over the world and made everything into chocolate, I wouldn't be able to touch anything. I wouldn't even be able to sit in the ugly green chair.
No, you wouldn't be able to eat anything because it'd all be chocolate. Yeah, it would be awful.
It'd be a very random superpower.
It is a very random superpower. As Sasa said, like, he is just 11 years old too. They're not in charge of their emotions, and that's a very good point. They don't have. At that age, they still lack.
And then right after that, Sasuke says, a middle schooler is perhaps the worst person to have unlimited power. And she teaches middle schoolers, so she knows this even better than we do.
I can imagine. I mean, you've got sort of hormones are starting to fly around sometimes at that age, and they're kind of on the cusp between being children and teenagers, and that's also around the age, at least here, when you'd be moving from junior school to senior school, and you've got all this other stuff going on sort of at that age anyway. But also they're not emotionally mature at that age by any means. They're still very much children, and even children of that age still lack like impulse control.
Yeah.
They don't have like full impulse control, or they don't always empathise very well with other people, and he's still got all that going on, despite the fact that he is the Antichrist. as such, he is still very, very human, and all that affects him.
Yeah, and you know that's kind of the entire point of the whole story is that it's what you live with. Like if the baby swap had worked out properly, I think the story would end quite differently.
Oh God, yeah, because Warlock's awful, isn't he? He's like,
he's a little cunt.
Yeah, he is.
I'm not gonna clean that up.
No,
He's a little fucking cunt.
he is.
He needs his parents. His parents need to like slap him around a bit.
He would have like turned Hasta into a pile of poo, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
You smell like poo, so you are a poo. Ta-da! You'd have like a good Omens.
But it is funny that he tells Aster he smells like poo. I'm sorry, I just loved that scene.
It is pretty funny.
But okay, we go to the very last scene in this episode with Shadwell's magic finger.
This was fucking fantastic. This was my favourite scene out of this episode, hands down.
And it's another reason that was lifted straight from the book and has worked brilliantly.
It has. It translated onto the screen so well, and the whole, don't go in the circle. He's kind of, I don't really care. I'm not a demon. Just fucking do whatever. Just stay away from the circle. And obviously Shadwell's just completely in his element, isn't he? I think you get the impression that he's done this for so many years. He's never actually really done much of anything. He spends his time cutting out things from newspapers, and he's never actually seen any action, as it were. And now all of a sudden he's onto this, supposedly possessed or demonic entity, and he's gonna, do his thing. He's so serious about it as well. The bell that he's got is the
shop bell.
Dings the bell on the side. Yeah, that'll do. Hasn't got a candle. Well, I've got a lighter. It's practically a candle. He's just like improvising, and oh God, the finger. It's just brilliant.
Shadwell's finger of doom.
Yeah. I hope they continue how that goes in the book.
I do agree with Ben. They don't make Shadwell look dirty enough.
Yeah, because there's a big deal made about like his purple nailed fingers and stuff like that, and his grotty mac and his.
Well, I think that might be a Tully thing because in American television, a lot of times they won't have smoking.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He's supposed to be quite a heavy smoker in this, and he hasn't had one.
Right, and I think that's just a translation to Telly in the modern age type of thing. You aren't supposed to have people smoking at all.
Really a thing on TV, right? But they do make a nod to because in the books he drinks condensed milk.
Sure, it survives off it.
Basically, yeah, he kind of fucking lives off it. And Madam Tracy earlier on, when she makes him a cup of tea, says he's got
condensed milk and 9 sugars.
Just absolutely disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah.
The thought of that. Who'd make a cup of tea with condensed milk as well?
Who'd make a cup of tea with sugar?
Well, there is that. But yeah,
you make dehydrated tea, so I think
I am bringing tea bags to Khan, and I am making you a proper cup of tea.
Anyone makes tea with sugar, they should be cast out, larged.
I'm sorry, I love my English breakfast with sugar, with milk and 3.
English breakfast is our preferred.
Should leave the tea bag in it until the spoon can stand up of its own accord.
Yeah.
Then that would be coffee.
And then the tea should be the colour of He-Man.
Yeah, it should be.
Perfect tea. Same colour as He-Man. Yeah, like when I drink tea, on the odd occasion I drink tea at work, it could possibly be mistaken for coffee because it is very dark. But yeah, not as dark as how dark my coffee is, because I have my coffee even stronger than I have my tea. So, So condensed milk, Thai iced tea. Ooh. I think the only thing really condensed milk gets used for here is it comes in a tin for a start.
You used to get it used on puddings quite a lot.
That's evaporated milk.
Yeah, it comes in a tin here in the States too. I mean, you use it for like maybe cooking with.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
It's for cooking. It makes good fudge. It's good for making fudge with. And I have seen some really bizarre recipes for making lemon meringue pie with it, but it's totally cheating to use that and not make the filling correctly.
Yeah, we've gone slightly off track here. Yeah.
We have. But yeah, the nod to his condensed milk
Yeah.
sort of preference. And yeah, you got to think if he was having that much sugar and stuff, he wouldn't have a tooth left in his head, would he?
No.
Yeah.
That's I think he looks.
Excessive toothbrush person. Like I brush my teeth probably like 7 times a day. I actually keep one in my car. So on my smoke break at work, I can go brush my teeth. Like after.
I guess because you do smoke as well, though, so I can kind of get that. Yeah, I think in the show he looks dishevelled but not unclean.
Well, I think it's supposed to be like an air of grottiness about Shedlock because it goes into more detail about his flat and like his flat is sort of a nicotine stained walls and a terminally sticky carpet. And you get the impression that sort of cleaning is something that happens to other people because nothing compares with the glorious work of the Witchfinder army.
Right. Hey, you have to put your priorities straight, right?
So yes, he does his thing with the zero fail and then runs off knocking over a candle.
Yes.
Yes, and the best last line in an episode of any show ever, I think.
Oh, fuck.
I think the only way they could have topped that is if they'd had God doing the narration saying, and then an angel said a very, very bad word or something like that for the second time ever.
But I think it's the way twice, I think, in this episode, you've got him sounding like he might actually swear and he stops himself.
Yeah. And I'm going to put down pounds to pennies that you never hear him swear for the rest of the series.
Oh yeah, that's his one. But I think I like that the way they've done it, like especially how I said like he's almost sort of sounded like he was about to swear a couple of times, like "you bad angels" instead of "you bastards." You think he's totally swearing inside his head every time, though, isn't he? And just censoring it before it comes out of his mouth, which kind of. That amuses me, the idea that in his head he's absolutely painting the air blue. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like certain things. I mean, I have a pretty foul mouth, but there are certain things you will never hear come out of my mouth. You know, you've known me for well over about a year now. You'll never hear a GD come out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if I'm like half asleep and drunk. It's certain things that wouldn't come out of my mouth. There are certain times I think it, but yeah, I love how they just end the episode like that, like just.
I also like that even though he swore, it's still like this very magical moment, you know, the angel ascending to heaven and he's looking up and it's all light and lovely. It's still that, even though he sort of was like, fuck, and didn't want to go.
Pussy.
Yeah. Shadwell and his finger, that was fantastic. The way he's looking at his hand like.
Trying to run away from his own hand.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm very much looking forward to episode 5.
Me too, because we're getting into the real meaty stuff now. You know, we've met all the horsemen,
well, there's bits which I hope they will include in the next couple of episodes.
Yeah,
from the book, mainly because they'd be really immensely funny.
I have a feeling they will, just because Gaiman has so much to do with this, the writing of the script.
Yeah, he does.
My big one about the next episode, I'm really hoping we see the bikers.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a motorcycle enthusiast, I'm really hoping we see, because those characters, like, I've known those guys.
Yes. Yeah, the book characters are very funny. I think it will happen. I think there is going to be some sort of hole on the road thing. I mean, there's a bit in the opening credits where there's something falling from the sky, which one wouldn't normally see.
The motorcycles did appear in the trailer. But whether it actually, but I don't know if that's actually going to include the bikers to remain spoiler free. I hope they have the seance scene, because that would be
The seance scene, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But more than anything, for what I'm expecting in the next episode, I'm really looking forward to non-alcoholic lager.
Yes.
Madam Tracy's transport.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to as well.
Well, I think that one possibly could materialise in episode 6, but we'll have to see.
It could. It's just one of those. I'm quite looking forward to seeing that as well.
And if I do see a set of hands with fish and chips, I'll be quite delighted.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, rating for the episode?
Rating for the episode. I will give this 8.75. And the reason I don't rank it higher is because it kind of feels filler. But then in the same note, like, this part of the book is kind of filler.
Yeah.
You know,
8.75 what though?
8.75 tarnished crowns.
I am going to give it 9 angelic fucks. I actually really liked this episode. There's so many bits from the book in this to kind of make most book snobs happy, and I've enjoyed this more than episodes 2 and 3. I think, not that I didn't enjoy them, but I'd say I ranking them, I'd go episode 1 and then this episode for sort of how much I've enjoyed them.
I'm going to give this one 7 Shadwell Fingers of Doom, because even though I've got my gripes about it, the bits that were lifted from the book in this episode were perfect. They were all really, really good.
Yeah, I think this, I honestly have to say, might be the most book-heavy episode.
Yeah. But it's sort of the book bits they've used, I don't really have massive problems with them. They all make sense and they all fit. So that's what I've liked about it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think this is the most book heavy episode. It's the one that, like, really grasped the book the most.
Yes.
And Shadwell's finger.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thank you all for stopping by.
Mm-hmm.
Please, if you enjoyed this, if you enjoy what we put out, if you enjoy what we do, like, share, subscribe, especially share. We need to get a few more people, because I will do my cosplay of Crawley if we hit a certain number.
Mm-hmm.
Friends out there, also come out Friday night for the Cylon Johns. Even if you've never watched the show, well, A, you need to, and B, it's a fun stream to watch. And we'll be giving something away this Friday.
I know what it is, and it's awesome.
It is pretty freaking awesome. So, Ben, Amy, thank you for coming out to talk about this. Something we all love. And for the rest of you, Thank you so much, Lady Wolverton's Den, Juliana89, who does amazing artwork, which you will see some on Sunday. Sasuke, Peter Griffin, Mackenzie L. Burns was in here for a moment. Oh, I know her from somewhere. Where? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, she's another sideline. Our Red Sox fan, thank you so much. I believe I will be on Al's channel tomorrow night, which will be far too late for YouTube, but catch up later. Bear Island Josh, of course, the one spanner that rules them all, Brown Holler. And if I have Anime Lover Nicole, and if I've missed anybody, then I terribly apologize. But I do love you all.
Had Bobby Catalano.
Bobby Catalano, of course.
And One True David Adams. And I think that actor, did we say Bear Island Josh as well?
Yes, Bear Island Josh.
Laving Shadow. I didn't notice in the chat apart from one message like ages ago. So hello.
Oh,
Talk more next time so we can chat with you. Oh, Daisy, I'm not even going to try and pronounce your surname because I'll butcher it.
I believe it's Kowalski.
I'm not even going to try.
Correct me.
Daisy K.
Sasuke, in answer to your question, we're discussing music, books, and just things we're both interested in. Music, books, and baseball, mostly. And Wynn Heron, thank you for coming by. She's in bed by now because she's like more in the future than you, but not as far in the future as Brown Hollow. So everybody have a wonderful day, have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful night. In the meantime, please believe.
Bye.